Thank you so much for staying with us, Kennedy Iwundu, who is the chairman, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Abuja District, has been with us. Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's go into your areas, it were, taxation. The mere fact that he said he will review multiple taxation suggests that there is a regime of multiple taxation in Nigeria. Is that true?
Yeah. Let's educate our listener first. We have double taxation. We have multiple taxation. And what is double taxation? What is multiple taxation? The listeners may understand this one before we go into it. Double taxation is when an income or a profit or a service or a product is taxed twice. If you tax an income or profit twice, it's called double taxation. But if you tax an income or a profit more than twice, it becomes multiple taxation. Let me give you an example. In some states today, some states made the law that hotels, eateries, gardens will pay consumption tax. So
to the state government.
To the state government. So this state government, the hotels pay VAT to the federal government and also pay consumption tax to the state. This is double taxation. Because VAT is already a consumption tax. So when federal government collects VAT as a consumption tax, the state government will come back again and collect consumption tax for the state. So you can see that it's double taxation. You are still taxing the same item twice. Now, when it comes to multiple taxation, if you have a profit or income, you have series of taxes on it. It becomes multiple. For example, some companies in Nigeria today are paying company income tax on their profit. They are paying education tax on their profit. They are paying NIDA, National Industrial Development in their profit. They are paying NASENI tax levy on their profit. They are paying police trust fund, police levy on their profit. You can see
multiple.
In what a company has 5 taxes on the profit, it becomes multiple. So it's good that our listeners understand what is double taxation and what is multiple.
Many more are being proposed for some sectors.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and these are the things we are talking about. So I'm still wondering how the president will go about eliminating multiple taxation, because taxation is a product of law. You don't just tax people without a law in place.
Absolutely. Amendments or repeal of some acts
is either he has to repeal some of these acts, or he will grant, they will go to the Finance Act and review the law and exempt so many companies from it.
By way of amendment, you can exempt.
Exactly, you can exempt. Like in 2019 Finance Act, Buhari administration exempted companies whose turnover is 25 million and below from all taxes.
Per annum.
Exactly. If you have a turnover of 25 million and below, you're exempted from all taxes.
So protecting small businesses.
Exactly. So the president can, maybe in the course of Finance Act, review some of these laws and grant waivers to so many companies, or find a way to repeal tax revenue to be increased through expanding the tax net. Get people who are not paying this tax to pay. That's one of the ways we want it. We want tax revenue to be increased by making sure that the revenue collection is digitalized. I told you something on this platform last time. If you travel to some countries, if you go to the hotel and pay for your hotel bill or the restaurant or for a supermarket, the VAT is instantly remitted. At that point of payment, the VAT is instantly remitted to the government. You have to collect the tax digitally. You don't wait for the owner of the hotel to collect the VAT and now decide whether he's paying government half or 1/4.
And this is possible if we design
if we design a platform,
the necessary payment platform.
If we design a platform where these taxes will be digitally collected, our revenue will be tripled. What you are collecting in the VAT will be tripled, and it also reduced the cost of collection. Because right now, FRS is busy writing to organizations, going around to do VAT verification. In most countries, where VAT are collected digitally, you don't need to go anywhere for VAT verification. What are you going to VAT verification to do? So our taxes, like, they can start with hotels. start with eateries, start with gardens, start with supermarkets. As you enter, as you are paying, the VAT is instantly remitted to the government. So
it should be no cash payment in all these instances.
Even if there's a cash payment, the system should be structured in a way that when they are printing your receipt, maybe from their reserve, the government tax should be remitted. Let me tell you, government is losing a lot of revenue. We don't advocate for more taxes to be introduced. We don't advocate for tax rate to be increased, for revenue to be increased. We are saying, collect this tax digitally. We are saying there are so many people who are not paying this tax. Let them pay. Do you know that Nigeria can make a lot of money from property tax?
Property appreciation tax or what? Is that what they call it?
Property tax. If you go to other countries, people pay property tax every year.
On every property?
Exactly. They pay property tax.
I thought we do that. We have that kind of a tax system.
We have a tenement rate, but how many people are paying it? It's supposed to be collected by the local government. If you come to Abuja today, you have estates scattered across board. Most of them are empty. Government should introduce property tax.
Yes, I know in Abuja the tenement rate issue, but at some point it was a subject of litigation. I don't know whether
because the big people don't want to pay. Let me tell you the truth. Nigeria is not looking at taxation of high net worth individuals. If the big men in this country pay tax, we are going to have more than enough revenue.
Big men everywhere, including US, evade tax.
No, but in US, you must evade it legally. Here,
Yes.
we've evaded it illegally. That is truth. So the issue is that we need to introduce property tax to generate revenue. Also, we need to harness our capital gain tax. Capital gain tax means when you dispose an asset, you pay 10% on the gain you have made in that. So assume that you bought an asset 50 million and you sold it 70 million. I made a gain of what? 20 million. The law says you should pay 10% of the 20 million. That capital gain tax, nobody is harnessing it. You are not harnessing the tax you have on ground. And you say you want to introduce more tax. Does it make sense?
Now,
many properties are being bought and sold in Abuja today. Many properties are being bought and sold in Lagos, all over the country. Nobody is paying capital gain tax. Even they are not collecting enough capital gain tax. Only capital gain tax can sustain Nigeria.
The president said he will review multiple taxation, and you have tried to explain what this multiple taxation means on companies' profit, education trust fund, companies' income tax, that's corporate tax,
Naseni, NIDA, police levy.
So what he may likely do in terms of implementing this is to take away some of this.
Yeah, he can do that during the Finance Act. In the Finance Act, there are two ways to do it. Is either to repeal the sections of these tax rates, or he will exempt more companies from it. You can say, okay, companies whose turnover is 100 million and below should not pay any of these taxes again. Just like Buhari administration did it. They want to promote small.
Before 25 million, was it 5 or what?
No. Even if you earn 1 million, you pay.
Okay.
Even if it's 100,000, you pay tax on it. Before the 25 million threshold was introduced. So a Tinubu administration can do that through legislative
instruments.
I don't think it can do it through executive fiat.
No,
or through executive order.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So the cooperation of the National Assembly will be crucial.
Of course. The National Assembly has always been instrumental when it comes to our laws. And most of the laws today, they are the product of the National Assembly law, including the Finance Act. Up to this moment, we are waiting for 2022 Finance Act. In fact, we thought that Buhari would have signed it into law before
the bills to sign it into law.
We are now waiting for Tinubu. But I was asking myself, we're already in June. Why are you signing?
Midway into the financial year.
Yes, why will you be talking about Finance Act the middle of
maybe the former president declined to assent, opting to shift the responsibility to the new president.
Okay, possibly if he finally signed the Finance Act, let's see what happens in this June.
He may seek for amendment to suit his own economic policy, like this issue of multiple taxation. He can use that means to begin to give effect to implementing some of his policy pronouncements.
Exactly. Like in the bill, the 2022 finance bill that we're expecting to come, we heard that they're trying to increase education tax from 2.5% to 3%. And we also heard that capital gain tax is being introduced in digital assets, digital trade, like the cryptocurrencies and all that. Of course, I support that one. If somebody is doing cryptocurrency trade, you are buying and you are making gain. So what matters is the implementation. You know, we have a lot of laws in Nigeria, but the question is, are we really implementing it? I think we should, in our discussion, in the future discussion, let us discuss how we are going to implement these laws so that they become effective. Because it seems to have a lot of laws. But how well are we implementing these laws? Like we have capital gain tax now. Who is implementing it? We should have an implementation plan where if somebody is selling a property, for example, the Federal Capital Development Authority or the State Capital Development Authority will say, you are selling this property 100 million. Have you paid the capital gain tax? If you don't pay the capital gain tax, we will not do the transfer documents for the next person that is buying it. And that is it. And they will evaluate how much you originally bought the property and how much you are selling. Then you pay 10% of it before documentation. But nobody is implementing anything.
So we have continued over the years to show laziness in tax collection.
We're not implementing. So I wonder where, if we have tax laws, tax on ground, we are not implementing it. I now want to bring new taxes.
I wonder how this administration will cope if the Supreme Court reaches judgment on the case instituted against the federal government by Rivers, Lagos State government, and some other states that join on both parties on the issue of VAT. Who has the right to collect VAT? The lower court said it's strictly a state tax. So what if, for instance, the Supreme Court affirms that decision, also the appeal court, then it will leave the federal government open in terms of revenue shortfalls?
I think there is what I call tax neutrality. Tax neutrality when it comes to VAT in Nigeria. Why I use the word tax neutrality is the Constitution did not mention who to collect VAT. In fact, when the Constitution was drafted, the drafters of that Constitution never anticipated that VAT and withholding taxes would be a future progress of Nigeria. So they didn't even mention it in the Constitution. So the Constitution did not mention that federal government should collect VAT.
That's the argument.
The Constitution also did not mention that the state should collect. Let us get it clear.
Yes, that's the argument. The argument of the lawyers of this state government that dragged the federal government to court is that the taxes to be collected by the federal government are listed in the Constitution.
Yes.
Anyone that is not listed and anything not listed on the exclusive list
should be
is residual. Not even anything not listed on the exclusive or concurrent list
is residual.
Is residual, and that is the responsibility of the state. That's the argument that
but some lawyers are also arguing that as far as the residual did not mention it, it becomes a neutral.
No, there's no book of residual. Anything, just like you have the list for the exclusive and there's no list containing the residual. Now, the issue now is if that it happens then it will empower the states to really take the initiative. Whether they have the administrative backup and experience to do it is another.
There's a lot of politics in the Supreme Court. Sorry to use that word. I don't know whether the Supreme Court will be bold enough to say state collect VAT. I don't know. However, I want to tell you that many states are sleeping when it comes to tax collection. Do you know all over the world, the highest tax every country is collecting is personal income tax. Not even company income tax, not even VAT. But Nigeria has state collecting personal income tax. They're not,
and is the tax administration for the state.
So if states cannot collect personal income tax, which many countries is the highest. If you go to America today, if they collect 100 billion in terms of company income tax, they'll collect 1 trillion in personal income tax.
What I heard is that the Federal Revenue Service is still collecting taxes for some states. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
They collect, the states that don't have the capacity, they collect and remit. Is that true?
That's not true.
Did they exist in the past?
No. That's not true. The only place they were helping is the FCT IRS. They were helping,
FCT, which has already established.
But now they have gone back. The FIRS staff in FCT IRS, they have gone back to their offices. What I would suggest is that if the Supreme Court eventually says state is the state responsibility to collect VAT, the state should hire the services of FIRS to collect VAT for them. That should be best for them because they don't have the capacity to collect it. It's not about asking you to collect. It's about you having the capacity. What I suggest is that if the Supreme Court ruled today that the VAT collection should be with the state, I would advise every state to hire FIRS. So FIRS will still retain their 4% cost of collection.
Now, the problem here, which a lot of people have raised, is a possible confusion that will indeed envelop the entire country. Multiple taxation. You produce a product in a state, they collect VAT, you move to another state to distribute and say they want to also collect us. These are some of the reasons why they said it should be federally collected.
Yeah, it should be federally collected. However, you can also make it a concurrent tax. You know what is a concurrent tax? Withholding tax is a concurrent tax. What makes it concurrent tax is that withholding tax with respect to companies goes to federal government, but withholding tax with respect to individual goes to state. Capital gain tax is a concurrent tax because capital gain tax with respect to company goes to federal government, while capital gain tax with respect to state, to individual, goes to the state government. Stamp duty is a concurrent tax. Stamp duty that are between individuals goes to state, while stamp duty that is between a limited liability company goes to federal. You can see that Nigeria has a lot of concurrent taxes. So I don't think it's wrong if you make VAT a concurrent tax, where you say, federal government, look at the areas you will collect your tax, and state, look at the areas you collect your VAT. You can divide these individuals, maybe company operating in the state, enterprises, collect VAT in your state. Then non-resident come like foreign companies, multinationals, okay, federal government collect. You can make it concurrent tax, and everybody will go. But what I'm saying is that many states lack the capacity to collect tax. The governors are busy running to Abuja to share revenue.
And what is to be shared keeps decreasing. So
exactly,
they'll be forced to go and put on their thinking
cap. It's time, especially these new governors these 28 new governors that are in place now, to sit down and improve the internal generated revenue. The federal government has been borrowing money to keep the federation running. And it should be a complementary effort from the state.
But there's been a marked increase in IGR by states over the years.
Yeah, but you remember that the needs are also increasing.
With decreasing federation.
Exactly. So if you say your internal generated revenue is increasing, what of your needs? Your needs are, in fact, the needs are moving in geometric progression, while the revenue is moving in arithmetic progression. That's the reality. And so many states today cannot pay salaries if they don't come to Abuja to get federal allocation. And
they are hoping few subsidy will be removed so that they'll have enough. If you recall, those state governor, Godwin Obaseki, said if the subsidy is not removed by
they have nothing to
this month, then payment of salaries for June will be a huge problem for several states.
Yeah, he's right. But I want them to look beyond federal allocation because all their eyes is on federal allocation. I want any governor to say, what will I do to increase internal generated revenue on my state? Can I even increase internal generated revenue that if I don't get federal allocation, I can pay salaries? Most people are contesting for governor of the state because of federal allocation. I want a situation where somebody will say, I'm contesting for governor because I don't want to depend on federal allocation. I want to create an enabling environment in my state where I will collect taxes and pay salaries without even looking at federal allocation. How many states in Nigeria are...
1, 2, or 3.
Exactly. You know, one of the things supporters of Bola Tinubu use in his support over this election is how he increased internal revenue of Lagos State. To the extent that when Obasanjo refused to
withheld their local government,
he was paying salaries, paying local government, because he came into Lagos, expanded Lagos, increased internal revenue of Lagos. So we need governors that will come and say, I need to expand internal revenue of my state. What are areas will I invest?
So there's a burden on the president to increase and expand the federal revenue.
Exactly.
Through taxes, like he did in Lagos, he should replicate it.
What he will do the agenda I'm setting for Tinubu administration today is simple. You can increase tax revenue through one, make sure that federal revenue digitalize the collection process. Every hotels, every eatery, every supermarket, as their point of payment, the VAT should be straight to the government.
And it's not rocket science.
Exactly. Digitalize the collection. You see that VAT collection will triple.
Are there some interests that have refused digitization?
I don't know. Then number two.
No, you should know. You're the expert in the field. You should know. But because those at the helm at the Federal Revenue Service are experts with enormous experience. They have worked across global institutions, so they should know.
FRS has improved in when it comes to digital platforms. What we have now is Tax Pro Max, where you can file your returns online, make payments online, generate your tax clearance online. However, this is not the area I'm talking about. The area I'm talking about is collect this tax digitally. Why will you go to a hotel to verify whether he has paid VAT or not? If you put in place a platform where as people who are lodging in that hotel are paying, their VAT is automatically remitted. You don't need to go there.
We need a president with a strong will to encourage the FIRS to digitize collection of VAT at least.
Exactly. The president should also look into property tax and capital gain tax. Right now, Nigeria is losing a lot of money from the capital gain tax. So you don't need to introduce more taxes. You don't need to increase tax rate. The existing taxes you have is okay. Bring in more people into the tax net, digitalize the collection process, and Nigeria will move on.
Point made. Thank you so much, Dr. Kennedy Iwundu, Chairman, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Abuja District, for giving us your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you also for being part of it. My name is Amici Anepwe. Have a good time.